Okay, are we live?
We are live.
All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the January 13th, 2026 Utility Board for the City of Mercer Island. I'm Brian Thomas, the chair. I'm going to call this meeting to order, and we will start with roll call, please. Elaine, we can't hear you.
So, Chair Thomas,
Here.
Vice Chair Milton, Board Member Laird, Board Member Marshall,
Here.
Board Member Olson,
Here.
Board Member Poor,
Here. Ha.
Board Member White. Right.
So we have 4 board members attending, and we can now see all of them on video. So we've successfully overcome our technical difficulties. Congratulations. So it looks like we can begin with regular business. Are there any public appearances tonight?
There are no public appearances tonight.
All right, then let's turn to the first order of regular business, item 1, which is the review and approval of the minutes from the October 28th, 2025 Utility Board meeting. Everybody had a chance to take a look at those. Are there any updates, questions, or concerns before we consider a motion to approve them? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move. Second.
Okay, moved by George and seconded by Craig, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Those opposed? None opposed, so motion carries. Thank you. That was the hard part of the meeting. Now let's turn to the more enjoyable part. Agenda item 2 is an update from staff and the company Recology regarding Recology operations on Mercer Island. Take it away. Is it Jason? Are you taking the lead?
I can do a quick intro and then I can pass it to Alana to introduce the Recology team. So good evening, happy 2026. So each year we have the Recology team come and provide an annual report to the utility board regarding the service of all things solid waste recycling and composting on Mercer Island. So I know the Recology team is here. We are, I will say it's an important component, important timing. We are in the second half of our contract for the solid waste services. So starting to think through what the future looks like in terms of timing and possible modifications and things like that. So as we get into the work plan later on, you'll see another solid waste check-in down the road just to sort of talk about what that contractual element looks like and the timing and sequencing of it. But we are in the second half of the contract with Ecology. They are here tonight. Alana, I'll pass it to you to introduce the team and any other tidbits you want to pass along.
Thanks, Jason. Yes, so I'm Alana DeRogatis, the Sustainability Program Manager for the City of Mercer Island. And joining us, we have Alyssa Campbell, apologies, from Recology, as well as Anthony Mercado. And I believe we also have Kevin Bumgarner on the line. And Alyssa's going to be leading the presentation on just a recap of 2025 solid waste on Mercer Island. So pass it to you, Alyssa.
Thanks, Alana, and good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for having us here. I promise it will be a very entertaining presentation talking about 2025 and kind of looking ahead what's to come in 2026. Really appreciate your time, and we'll be going over some metrics some of you may be aware of, and some of this may be new to some of you. So I'll be sharing my screen here, and there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end, and if there's any clarification that you need, and just making sure, can everybody see my screen?
We can, but Alyssa, I have a question for you. So
Yeah, go right ahead.
try to make these kinds of sessions as informative as possible. You don't mind questions throughout the presentation, do you?
That's okay with me. Yeah, feel free to stop me. And then I'll just mention really quick, again, my name is Alyssa Campbell. I'm our Government and Community Relations Manager, and also joined as a panelist is our Senior General Manager, Anthony Mercado, and also our Assistant General Manager, Kevin Bumgarner. So just mentioning that they're also here. But
Welcome.
take it away.
You may want to put this on presentation mode to make the slides a little bigger.
Yeah. Anyways.
There
All
we
right.
go.
Screen still.
Perfect.
Jump into it. So just looking at 2025 from a high level overview, there are definitely some updates that we're carrying on from last year and then some other new items for 2025 in its own right. Looking at the very first point here is our billing platform update that we went through. So in November, many commercial multifamily customers may have seen that we've had a change with the billing platform. Actually, Mercer Island residents will not see that change until February. So that's still kind of something to come, but an overall update that our company has gone through. In addition to that, we've had some updates to our customer relationship management system. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the presentation here. But we've continued to have bolstering of our staff recruitment and overall just increase of staffing. And we'll talk about that as well in this presentation. At our recycling facility down here in Georgetown, so in South Seattle, we have added 6 artificially intelligent robotic additions to our what we call our MRF. And we'll have plenty of opportunities for staff to come out. We had a MRF tour last year actually to look at some of those robots. And now that we've had all of the robots installed at this point, we're always happy to have you out. So please keep in mind, we'll be inviting you soon. On our trucks, we've made some additional installments of onboarding software. So we'll talk about that a little bit on the operations update side of things. One thing to call out as well is that this 2025 was the second year of the King County Fixed Annual Charge. And we'll kind of go over what that's all about in this presentation as well, just a quick overview. And then the trilogy, I'm calling it, of the organics management laws that have been passed here in Washington. We've had a lot of socialization going on, both from Mercer Island directly, from Recology and partnership, just to make sure that businesses are fully aware of that new legislation that's come out and all the different requirements that will apply to them. So those are some of the high-level items. Looking at customer service specifically, in 2025, Mercer Island had an average customer satisfaction score of 4.7 out of 5, which is even an improvement from last year. So very close to reaching a whole 5. And just a reminder, this is a voluntary survey that folks can take at the end of a phone call with our customer service representatives. So they can choose to provide that score to us at the end of their calls. So that's great to see. And then
What was it previously to 2025?
I'm going to say, I'm pretty sure it was either 4.5 or 4.4, but I can.
I believe it was 4.6 last year when I was updating the summary. So
Great.
There. Awesome. Thanks, Alana. And then talking about our staff, we've increased by about 15%, so added some additional headcount. We have a few temporary staff members who have been added to the team as well, just with some of those changes that we've seen with the billing side, and then also just in general, we are growing. We want to make sure that we can support always all the customer calls that we get in over time, the various fluctuations that we have, that we see in trends, and you'll see a little bit of that in our overview here in a little bit of the statistics from the trailing 12 months. But kind of continuing on with the customer service updates, we've got more training. So last time we did this presentation, we talked about the fact that we had an additional, we hired a director of customer experience, and that support arm has kind of bolstered the training that we have here locally in Seattle for our customer service representatives. And that's, again, going to be something that we continue throughout the years to come, those training programs. Just a quick few highlights onto the 2025 stats. We had more than 90% of calls on average answered in 20 seconds. So you'll see that. And then on average, pretty much each month that you'll see is calls are getting answered in less than 15 seconds as well. And then just a quick note to add, the closest Recology store to you all is the Issaquah Recology store. We did make an update to the location of that store in 2025. It's just literally a couple stores over now in St. George Square. So it's still in that Gilman area. It's not hard to find from the previous location, but just a quick call out for that one. Looking at the actual stats here, this is an overview of the call, email, and volume, emails and calls, sorry, for customer service in Mercer Island. So We have kind of a fluctuation typically based on the billing cycle. So we have a quarterly billing cycle in the city of Mercer Island. You see the high number in August, that's a billing month. And so we tend to get some calls and emails related to bills during those times. Overall, nothing really unusual for 2025 that you see here. Board Member Thomas, a question on this.
Do you break down the call and the emails that you receive into different categories of the nature of the call, whether it's billing related, service, missed pickups, or other types of service related issues? Because this is just overall, right, for everything.
Yeah, good question. Yes. So all of the customer requests that we get through our emails and calls, those are translated into some version of a request or an outcome. And that is a part of the call log detail that we provide on a monthly basis as well. We have all sorts of calls that we get, and I'll talk in a moment too about some specific ones related to operations, like you just mentioned, misses. But overall, we do have quite an array from people asking about what's able to be put in the blue bin from, what does the fixed annual charge mean on my bill, things like that.
So I think it would be helpful for us to have some visibility into the nature of the most frequent types of inquiries, so we know if there are issues, especially as we go in, as Jason noted, we go into this contract renewal period. I think it would be helpful for the board to know why consumers are calling.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely break that down. I think we'll keep a note for that, and I'll follow up with Alana too to see if that's something we can provide to you after this presentation today as well, for sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Looking at some more customer service data, our average seconds to answer, like I mentioned, looking really good throughout the year of 2025, well below 15 seconds in most cases. Really, the average is closer to 12 seconds. And then the average calls answered in 20 seconds is 90% or higher in all months. So that's the metric in the contract.
Is that to get to a human?
Exactly. Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Hey, other board members, please chime in if you have questions. I don't mean to hog the platform
And
here.
always, it's okay if you need a second to ruminate, and we can talk about it when the presentation's over too. We do have some metrics that we'll continue to go over, may help spark some questions as well. Happy to go back as well if there's other questions as we're moving through here. Again, we already looked at that average seconds to answer, but for the average handle time over 2025, you can see it's close to about 4 minutes. So that's just the amount of time it takes to get, on average, a request processed for a customer that may be calling in Mercer Island. And then moving over to the operations update, some really exciting pieces to share with you here. We did promote a district manager on the East Side region. That district manager previously served your region as a supervisor, and now she is serving as a district manager, and we've recruited a new supervisor. Well, he's really not new anymore, but he's taken the place of that previous operations leader. And so we've been really pleased with that outcome. I think there's been a lot of great support in your city, and that district manager, she knows your city front to back as well as the supervisor. So we kind of have double the support at this point, which is great. And then I mentioned previously, related to training and recruitment, we are continuing to do that with our driver staff. We're always hiring. So if you know anybody who's got a CDL, we love to, increase our head count always. We're always growing. We mentioned previously that we do have an in-house CDL training program. So that's something that's really helpful for Recology, because we have a very common trend of people kind of moving between departments. We might have someone who was previously in the recycling facility kind of move over into the on-the-ground operations. And a way that we're able to enable their growth is by that. One way we're able to do that is through that CDL training program in-house, that we're able to kind of usher a potential new hire in that driver realm into knowing how does a garbage truck work, and how can they be certified to do that work. So that's something that we're really happy about. And then just something to mention too on the recruitment side is that we have in this past year also gone through a centralization of some of our HR department functions. And so one of the great things about that too is there's a hyper specialization of our recruitment strategy, which has also been really helpful in bringing in really great employees. We, in the past year and beyond, we've expanded our operational support assets. So I did mention some of those improvements at our recycling facility, but we did open, in this past year, we opened our North Yard in the town of Maltby, so very close to the city of Bothell. That North Yard is kind of, again, it's expansion of our assets, so it's provided more support overall around our operations. We have a paint booth at that North Yard that's kind of helped us ensure that any cosmetic needs for our dumpsters is being met in-house, which is a great new feature for us. And in addition to the fact that it's a whole yard, it's got its own features as far as running service out of that yard, which just helps overall. We also just opened a new Recology store in the city of Redmond. So that's an additional opportunity. If Mercer Island residents happen to work in Redmond, they can actually go to that store and use it as the same features that they have in the Issaquah store and any of our other stores. And then one other thing I just want to mention too, related to this past year that you'll see here, and you may have heard about, is related to King County and some of the disruptions that they had with their transfer stations in this past year. So in 2025, there were quite a few closures. And this was related to a pilot that was adopted by the county to basically change some of the operating hours for the landfill. There are a lot of learnings, I think, on the county side and just at large for all the stakeholders. But Recology, especially as we're talking about the context for Mercer Island, we fared really well because we have a very nimble operations team and we were able to respond to the impossible closures and make lemonade out of lemons in those situations, making sure that we're able to continue service, even though we wouldn't have access to the closest transfer station in many cases that we're typically serving you through. And so I just wanted to call that to mind because that was a pretty big impact that we experienced this past year that we were able to get through. And just one last stat that I want to mention here, and this is kind of going to the question that you had, Board Member Thomas, is for escalations that we receive into our call center, maybe an unresolved request or something that a customer is needing assistance on that's more heightened than a normal request, we see about 1,000th of an escalation per customer in your city on a monthly average. So if you average out how many heightened calls that we received on a monthly basis, we don't even break 100th of an escalation per customer on a monthly basis. So very low number there. And also just want to call out too, like I mentioned, with that operations support that we have, the great leadership that we have there, it's really helpful in responding to issues that may arise. But I'll also just call to mind staff at the city of Mercer Island has done a really great job in providing really holistic communication to Recology and to residents or businesses that need a little bit of extra support. So definitely a really sort of positive approach there in making sure that if there are any issues that come up, that we're able to resolve them in full. One of the main metrics that we talk about for operations is our miss per thousand. So in the year 2025, on average, we were below about a 0.4 of 0.4 misses per thousand. And you see in November there was a little bit of a spike, but if we're comparing to previous years, 2024 as an example, these numbers are actually generally cut in half to previous metrics. So we're still well under the 1 miss per thousand metric. That is kind of the target of making sure that we're providing excellent service. But I'll just say this year is even an improvement compared to previous years as well, which is really positive.
Could we have this slide comparing 24 and 25 together? It just like after the fact?
I can provide that as a separate data point as well after this presentation. Happy to do that for sure.
I mean, I believe you. It's good. It would be good to be able to see it.
Absolutely.
For the board. And then, do we know why there was a slight uptick in November, or is that just statistics?
Yeah. So I did mention we did have an adjustment to our customer management system. So we are actually attributing a small margin of error to the way that these misses were categorized. So it's actually possible that some of these misses may not actually be misses. And I won't go into much into the details there, but overall, there's wasn't really any particular, usually it's like an inclement weather scenario where we might see additional misses, especially in the month of November, but nothing really as far as a trend that I can attribute here.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. And then just kind of jumping into another a nuance related to the Mercer Island contract is the way that multifamily and residential rates are created based on some of the recycling data that we have for Mercer Island. So each year we have two waste characterizations. They're done by a third party company. They come out to our recycling facility and they characterize all of the different kinds of material that is coming in from the city of Mercer Island. There's a weight percentage that's built and that can show you what the top commodity is. In this case, for 2025, it was OCC, which is corrugated cardboard. And then kind of, we can see what other kind of commodities are most commonly, or I guess that were seen in that characterization for the city. And then based on that characterization and then based on the pricing for those commodities in 2025, there is a rate increase or decrease. So it's very, very slight rate increase of 30 cents for residential customers and 19 cents for multifamily customers from that calculation.
So I have a question, and it's not pointed at you guys in any way, but how do we compare Mercer Island to other communities that you serve in terms of like how well the community recycles maybe the major categories? That's a little off topic, and Jason always tells me I ask too many questions, so if you need me to stop, I can, but I was just curious.
No, I'm really glad you're asking questions too. And I'm glad that these are things that spark interest. I will say for Mercer Island, the participation in recycling, which actually I've got a cool sort of statistic in a later slide to talk about this. Overall participation in recycling is excellent. I will say the contamination is definitely lower, especially we work on reducing contamination in the city. One of the things we have is a waste zero team, which is the outreach team that Recology puts out into the field to work with businesses and work with multifamily properties, whether that be tenants or employees or maintenance staff, and educating them about what is recyclable and what's compostable. I will say, just on a general scale, Mercer Island does a really good job, and I'll give a kudos to Alana too, that she's done a fine job since she started working at the city too, and kind of honing in some of the focus areas or maybe focus properties too of who might be a repeat offender, who needs some additional help, and working with us on working with those properties that may need some additional help. Because we do have our drivers, they're trained to be putting tags on bins if they see something that's not recyclable, and then also notating that. In addition to that, we also have visual audits that our recycling facility team conducts and provides some information for us as well to get a kind of bird's eye view on how things are looking. So in summary, to answer your question, Mercer Island's doing a good job with recycling.
Geraldine, I think, has a question.
Thank you. I'm new to the committee, but could you just articulate what the PET, HD, PE, and residue categories mean in a little bit more layman terms, and then I'll try and keep that in mind.
Yeah, happy to. So HDPE natural is milk jugs, and then HDPE colored is detergent bottles, the more colored version of HDPE, which is a kind of plastic. Those are both, HDPE is a kind of resin, which is how we categorize all different kinds of plastic. And then residue is actually another term for trash, or the things that cannot be recycled. So typically, it could be bagged material. And in a lot of cases, what we see for residue would be people putting, opaque bag material together, and there might be food soiled components to it that makes it not recoverable, or it's a lot of plastic film, or, other things that are not conventionally going to be processed in our recycling facility.
Okay. And that was 15%?
Yes,
Yeah. Thank you.
of course. Right. So another component to rates, something that impacts rates every year is the CPI adjustment. So just again, we have the overview for this past year, the CPI adjustment, it was 2.715. So not as much of an increase compared to previous years. I think it was nearly twice that in the previous year. So that only impacts the service component of the rate. And then there is a separate component, which is the disposal component. And I can show that in this next slide here. King County pretty much controls the disposal component. This past year, it had an increase of nearly 8% in the price for that disposal. So that's a per ton rate that is filtered into rates that customers pay. For larger customers, they pay that per ton rate wholesale because they have as much as, more than several tons of material being collected. But for your average customer, it's kind of, it's built into a formula that equals the rates. So as you can see here, the comparison between 2025 rates and 2026 rates, you see that that percent increase, it's roughly $1 or so for the 20-gallon cart. And then you look at commercial customers, you look at this rate change, a little bit more of an increase just because it's a higher rate for the amount of material that they're disposing. The FAC, again, that's a fixed annual charge. That is also a separate King County owned fee that's added to rates. This fee in particular is a way to offset some of the changes in the way that material is being disposed in the King County disposal system as there is more diversion legislation and ordinance that are being put out by cities. So the county expects that there's going to be less trash coming into the system. With less trash coming into the system, they have to stabilize the revenue to be able to operate that system. So the FAC kind of works as a buffer for those changes. And the FAC, as you can see here, it didn't change really. It changed in a small way compared to last year and this year. And that's all based on tonnage, the way that that's calculated for us. So the tonnage that is coming out of Mercer Island for trash, that helps the calculation of the FAC get created. So that extra fee is able to be paid to the county based on how much material your city is disposing. And so looking at some of the work that we're doing, speaking of diversion and moving the needle for diversion, I'll just call to mind from the Mercer Islands Climate Action Plan that the city is looking to reduce community waste and greenhouse gas emissions associated with the consumption and disposal of goods and materials, with various metrics slated for 2023 completion and 2050. So that includes a certain level of diversion happening and a certain amount of participation in the city in recycling and composting programs. Ways that we're able to help the city in that work is, like I mentioned, through our Waste Zero team who performs outreach. And that's not just from businesses and multifamily properties, but it's also on the single family residential level as well. And we'll talk about that a little bit. I do have a few examples here of some of the items that we've worked with the city on in 2025. So we did a special Mercer Island only Mirth tour during the Earth Month. And then we also had holiday light recycling at City Hall in January. So those are kind of unique ways to help people reduce waste and properly manage waste. And then another component to this work that we're doing together is the Washington legislation that's been passed in recent years. So again, I mentioned the organics management law as the trilogy because there are 3 that have been passed in recent years. The most recent one is House Bill 1497 in 2025, which is a mandate on cart colors and container colors, among other things. Those 3 laws have different impacts on compost diversion in particular in all cities in Washington state. I will say, Mercer Island's positioned really well based on many of your ordinances and many things that are already in place for your city, within our contract and some of the things that you already have for your cart colors. So you're in line with a lot of those regulations. You're ahead of the curve, so to speak. And then a few other, another really major piece of legislation that was passed in this last year was the Recycling Reform Act, and you'll hear a lot more about that this year, especially. But basically, that law is to have stewardship from manufacturers for the recycling that is happening curbside across the state. So what happens from here on out is basically the state is taking inventory of what it takes to provide recycling service in the state of Washington, and then they will kind of elect a representing group, a representing body for the manufacturers to basically be the ones paying for recycling. Once all the data has been collected in how recycling works in Washington and what the needs are there, then that kind of continues to get ushered through different targets slated in that bill. So looking again at 2025 and what outreach we did to ensure that waste diversion was happening, we'll start with some single family outreach highlights. We'll talk a little bit too about some of the tabling events that we're at. But we have ongoing workshops at our ecology stores, at all of the stores. Generally, they're in February, May, and December. We have different topics. We may be teaching folks how to repair different items. We may be showing folks how to repurpose different items. As an example, we do a furoshiki workshop in December that helps people use fabrics to wrap gifts instead of purchasing gift wrapped. And then a few other campaigns that we do is not only through print, so we have bill inserts that go out and may have different highlights and maybe encouraging people to compost certain items or remind them what's compostable, and then also items that may be specially recycled either they're at the store or curbside. And we also have ongoing social media outreach campaigns as well, kind of talking about some of the tips related to waste diversion and other kind of frequently asked questions and events that people may be interested in. We also do public recycling facility tours. So in January, April, July, and October, those are running. But again, we're doing private tours all the time. In fact, we will plan on doing another tour for the city this year as well. So we're really excited about that. Just a really great way to get people to believe in recycling, because that's one of the questions we get a lot. Is recycling real? And of course it is. So that's a great way for us to kind of, stifle the myth of recycling, because it's not a myth. Looking at multifamily outreach, we do ongoing technical assistances, door-to-door outreach, and presentations for sites. In this past year, we had 90 units receiving door hanging materials. So that's reusable bags that can help them not put plastic bags in the recycling bin. We also provide door hangers, which kind of go over the how-tos with recycling with unique items like hazardous waste and bulky material. We will distribute that to any multifamily property who wants us to, who allows us to. So again, that's an ongoing referral and active pursuit that we're providing that outreach. I will say 100% of multifamily sites in the city of Mercer Island do have recycling service, which is a really great thing. And greater than 50% have compost service. So that's also an excellent metric for the city. Multifamily properties in particular can be some of the more challenging with diversion. So it's really, you should be proud of yourselves that you're at this point with your multifamily sites. Talking about businesses, again, we do technical assistances, we do trainings, presentations, making sure that employees and business owners know how to use their service. We did 4 presentations in this past year. We did 26 provisions of signage. So we'll do signage inside of enclosures. We'll do it in back of house, front of house, so that those areas are well equipped with what goes where. And we also, like I mentioned previously, had continued contamination monitoring and custom reporting for the city as well. And I'll just highlight again for the single family outreach or just general community outreach. We were at several events this year. We love coming out for the various events the city puts on. In April, we were at Leap for Green. Summer celebration was in July. The farmers market, we were there in August, and the holiday makers market, we were there again supporting the Chamber of Commerce on the 6th of December. So those are a few photos from those events that we were at.
I think that's Jason right there in that yellow hard hat, isn't it?
I love it.
I
Yeah.
wish. I wish.
There's a little bit of familiarity. I'm sorry for the confusion.
No, I love it. Yeah, Jason cameo. It's great.
Thank you.
So I mentioned we'll be looking ahead at 2026. What are some of the things we have on the docket here? Again, we will definitely be out in the city doing more tabling. It's what we love to do, talking with community members, building those connections. We'll continue to do our Recology Store workshops and, of course, the MRF tours. We are working with the city already on Earth Month because that is in a few short months away in April. Thinking about tabling and workshop opportunities. Um, I did, we did talk about the Recycling Reform Act a moment ago, and I'll just mention Recology is on the advisory council representing recycling facilities. So because we were appointed, we will be actively serving on that council for 2 years and contributing to the conversation about, what will it look like for recycling to be funded by the producers in the state of Washington. Of course, in 2026, we'll have continued outreach to businesses, making sure that they are diverting food waste from the landfill and that they're in compliance with state requirements. We'll continue to do the socialization of those laws and making sure that businesses are well supported to make that change. And if I'll make an additional note, we do have another Recology store opening up in the city of Maple Valley as well. So just another place that Mercer Island residents, if they happen to be, they can use that store um, as they please. And with that, those are my updates for 2025 and looking ahead at 2026. I will take any additional questions. And again, thank you so much for your attention and your time this evening to talk about how this year went.
Awesome. Thanks, Alyssa. Any questions, folks?
Oh, this is George. I have one question which is loosely related to your presentation, which was exceedingly well done. So thank you for that. Does Recology pick up Christmas trees?
We do. Absolutely. Yes. Do you have a Christmas tree we can help you with? We're happy to.
Well, I whacked it all up and I put it in small pieces because I didn't know.
Oh, you're awesome. So we do, yeah, we do accept trees. There's a couple different processes related to that. If you have yard waste service already, you can just set it out next to that yard waste cart and we will pick it up as long as it's not greater than 6 feet in length. If it's greater than that, then we would ask that you reduce the size. And then if you do not have yard waste service, that is a separate, we want people to call ahead so that we can get that scheduled and that the driver can expect to see a tree where there's a house without a green cart.
Thank you
Good,
for
timely
that.
question.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Geraldine.
Thank you. Would you be able to say more about the implications for rates, since this is a presentation on rates, of the Recycling Reform Act? And as you noted, that more of the recycling is to be funded by producers. What's the implication of that over the next several years?
That's a really good question that I'm not equipped to fully answer yet because that is to be determined on how that
To
will
be
look.
determined.
Yes. But
Interested.
the idea is that the folks having curbside recycling will not be the ones responsible for how that gets paid for, essentially.
So the purpose of the bill was to shift the funding of curbside of recycling to manufacturers to the extent possible. Is that essentially it in a nutshell?
Yeah, and I'll just mention too that there are several other producer responsibility laws that exist in the state of Washington and ones that are still being pursued. And it's as an example, paint, if you've got paint at home, the producers of paint are now responsible for getting that recycled. And so as a result, there's a lot of hardware stores and paint stores that you can actually just take your paint to and it'll get recycled and you don't pay a thing. It's part of technically what you are paying for when you purchase the paint itself that it should already be accounted for once you're done with it. So yeah.
Great.
And Chair Weicker, I see your hand up. Hello.
I'm not the chair here, darling. I just want to say thank you to you and Anthony for being here tonight. And it's always a delight to hear you speak. And you're so knowledgeable and really appreciate all the work you're doing. And for the rest of the board, I wanted to give Alyssa a chance to brag because she isn't bragging enough about the work she and Recology do regionally to represent Mercer Island and solid waste issues at King County and the state level. There's a lot happening at King County and the state level. And Alyssa is personally representing Recology on that state board implementing this Recycling Reform Act. So I'm lucky enough to cross paths with these two professionally. And Alyssa, I just want you to brag a little bit, or Anthony, I want you to brag for her because Alyssa is carrying a lot of water for all of us in doing this intergovernmental work that takes a lot of weekends, evenings, and daytime hours, and just can't thank you enough for all that, Alyssa. So go ahead and brag a minute.
Thank you, Winnie. I really appreciate that. And happy to represent. I think this is Washington in particular has a lot going on in terms of the diversion space. And so we're very lucky to be so engaged in all the different initiatives and changes that are seemingly happening all the time. So yeah, happy to represent and looking forward to the outcomes there.
Awesome. Thank you. And again, on behalf of the board, Alyssa, to you and everybody on the Recology team, thank you for being here tonight, answering some questions. And we would like the additional information that I asked for at some point in the near future. It would be great. But we do appreciate what you do for the community and look forward to continued dialogue.
Absolutely. And thank you so much again for all the great questions and your time. Like I said, you're welcome to come to our recycling facility. So I'll see you sooner than a year from now if you choose to join us. But otherwise, please always feel free to reach out if there are questions that you have, and we'll definitely be following up with some more information for you.
Great. Anybody else? Board members? Any further questions, comments? Okay. Thank you very much. I think you folks can drop if you would like to, or you can stay on and listen to us discuss the 2026 work plan for the board. What's the next agenda? Jason, is that you?
That is me. Give me 1 second.
Have a great evening, all.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I figured you didn't want to stay for this.
Great. Thanks, Jason. Thanks all. Take care.
All right, I'm sharing my screen. I lost all my videos, so make sure someone says that they can see my screen.
We can see your screen, but there we go. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so the calendar in front of you is a tentative draft calendar for the work plan for this year. So for a reminder, we'll get these calendar invites out to the board, but we meet the second Tuesday of every month with a couple recesses planned along the way. January 13th is today, obviously, so we did the Recology work plan, the annual review, and then the work plan discussion now. In case you didn't know, we have a really, really big water supply line project that's coming into construction next year, early spring. So that has multiple parts to it, and it's going to be pretty impactful. It's a 2-year project right now is what we're anticipating. It also includes the amendment to the SPU contract. So like I said, it's got some different components to it that we'll be discussing with the utility board. So in February, we'll plan on doing a supply line project update. You'll hear Clint Morris and others come and talk about what's in store for that project, the timing. We have to work around some maybe unexpected events such as FIFA. The World Cup's coming to Seattle this summer as well. So there's just some nuances that we want to talk about with the board. In March, I've asked that our stormwater team come provide a presentation. This has become sort of an annual presentation on the NPDES requirements, our National Pollutant Elimination or Discharge Elimination components, which is our permit, and we're required to do a bunch of work through the Department of Ecology. So it's a good opportunity for the stormwater team to come talk to the board about those different elements of that permit and the work that they do every day. We'll also have a number of touch points on that supply line project, and it could be on the construction side, it could be on the SPU contract side. So when you see this sort of placeholder, it could be either one or both. So again, we'll come to the board again in March with an update on that important project. You heard me talk about the PSE franchise agreement last year. We are working on an update to that agreement. We've got a red line version that we sent to PSE, and we just actually got the returned first version back from PSE. So right now we've got April as sort of a tentative opportunity to come talk to the board about that update to the franchise agreement. It could slide a little bit here and there, but right now it's looking at April. In May, that's when we actually anticipate, I think we'll have a contract amendment, hopefully pretty close to fully baked, to come talk to the board about, and hopefully get a recommendation that can go to the council along the way. June is set aside for the board elections, and this year is an important year as we start to look towards the 27 and 28 budget biennium, as we start to plan our capital reinvestment infrastructure needs. And so usually in late spring, early summer, we come and talk to the board about what those capital projects may look like for the upcoming biennium as it feeds into the rate conversation that you'll have in the fall. July, we try and hold off on doing a formal meeting. We try like to it's busy construction season. It's also right around summer celebration and the 4th of July holiday. So we try and do site tours at that point in time for ongoing construction projects or see major infrastructure. I know a lot of you have done, or all of you have done, most of you have done the individual site tours. So if that's not of interest, there are plenty of capital projects, and it's a good opportunity to go and meet some of our engineers and project managers out in the field and our team members and ask them all sorts of cool questions that you're not going to get answers from me on because I just don't know the ins and outs of everything. I know, shocker, Brian. I know, shocker, but these guys and gals are super knowledgeable, and it's a great opportunity for them to interact with you and you to interact with them. So that's July. August, we take a recess across the city from boards and commission meetings, so you see that plugged in. And then as we go into the fall, we ramp right back into the rate conversation. And so got a series of meetings held for the rate conversations, and then that supply line project update sprinkled in sometime in September, October. At that point in time, I anticipate we'll be through the first phase of construction. We'll probably be in maybe sort of winding down for the winter, but it'll be a good opportunity to preview what's worked, what hasn't worked, what modifications need to happen as we go into year 2 of that construction window. And then November is set aside for a rate discussion further if needed, and then a solid waste contract. So you heard me preview the fact that this is coming. We signed a 10-year contract in 2019. It expires in 2029. And usually with the contract implementation, you need a solid 2 years to make a decision and go through whatever process you're going to entail for that contract process. So it's a good opportunity for us to start talking about what that may look like, what the options are for consideration, and start having a conversation about timing associated with that contract renewal or procurement process, depending on which direction we go. With that is the draft work plan. We will put this in the packet next go around. For now, pencil off the second Tuesday of every month, except for August and December. Those will be your recess months. And then, like I said, these are sort of the topics that we have tentatively scheduled. They could move around a little bit based off of quorums, staff availability, and just timing with the rest of the things that are going on. With that,
I have a few
questions?
questions. I do. Do other board members questions or comments about the work plan? Okay. With respect to PSE, what is the expiration of the franchise?
Like 10 years ago.
That's right. We're in evergreen status. That's right. Okay. So do you envision, given the storms and other things that have happened over the past few years and the outages and other things, one of the things that I think the community would want to know is what is PSE doing to make its network on Mercer Island more resilient, or at least as resilient relative to other communities that it serves throughout Pacific Northwest. Now, when I was at the commission, this is kind of inside baseball, they used to have some circuit level outage report, statistics so that they could show, and they would usually use it as a way to identify capital projects and money they wanted to spend to improve their distribution network and transmission network to beef up in areas where it most needed it to avoid lengthy outages in the future. Do you envision some sort of perhaps a dialogue with us, or is that happening at the staff level between you and the utility to talk about resiliency going forwards, given the angst that occurs on the island every time there's a storm and we have significant outages?
Great question. So it's actually, I anticipate both. So at the staff level, that's already happening as part of the contract conversations. And that's, we have outside legal counsel helping with this process. And, there are some things they say, hey, that's not a contractual piece, that's a procedural piece. But nevertheless, it's something that's important to us. And our ability to respond and help our community in those moments. And so that is an active conversation I anticipate we will hear feedback from the board along similar lines, and so we want to make sure that we can respond accordingly and have pieces in place to help us in an emergency response. I will tell you.
Do you think it would be good to ask them to come and tell us what they're doing for the
Yes.
island to improve resiliency? So it doesn't filter through you, it comes from them, and we can ask them questions directly.
We can certainly see if they're willing to do that. Absolutely. Happy to make that request.
And we'll get George all wound up because he used to work there, right?
And me too. I can't wait to put him in the hot seat. Let's go, George.
They're going to for that meeting.
Make
Okay.
sure it's Matt Perry, Jason.
Yeah,
I
Matt Perry.
I just think it would be a worthy exercise for a variety of reasons. One, to show the community that we're asking those questions, and two, to kind of let the utility get a little bit of a message that there is concern on the island. I'm sure they're aware of it, and Mayor Neese did a great job over the last few years when we had outages, and others were engaged with the utility in a variety of different ways. But I think they can always be improved, especially on Mercer Island. So I'd like to hear about that. The other thing that on the work plan that strikes me is that I've seen on social media lately a few comments about how much longer is King County can be working on this sewage line on the island. Can we ask the county to come soon and provide an update on that project and what's going on?
You can always ask.
We can make the requests. I don't know if we'll get the response you're hopeful for, but we can ask.
Than the sewer line project. So
yeah,
is it an unreasonable request? Is it you're kind of scoffing? Is it like they're unlikely to even give us anything? Is that the issue, Wendy?
They're so strapped and have so many musical chairs at the moment. I don't know if they're even checking my Gmail, Jason.
Okay.
I can
we can certainly make the request. I'm happy to make the request. I will tell you, your staff team has grown tired of the King County project as well as our residents have. And as we talk about it's actually a good time to the water supply line project, because the neighborhood over by East Mercer Way has been, and others, but in particular, they have had some pretty significant impacts for years, multiple years, because of this King County sewer project. And unfortunately, where our new supply line is going to come through is in a similar neighborhood. And so we are at the staff level, we are planning for that. We were preparing for it. We're trying to do the best we can to mitigate that. But getting the feedback from the board, at least for our own project, will be helpful and beneficial in what we can do, because we are aware of those issues and totally aware of the impacts that King County has had. I say this, we want the sewer system to work, and as they constructed it, it wasn't successful in working. So that's why they're having to redo things. That is a known issue. That's what they're doing. They made some mistakes in their construction. They're having to redo things. That's why they're here for so long. That said, it has been a complete utter nightmare. I understand that. We will make the request of them. I'm not sure we will get them to come in and provide an update. Maybe we will, but we'll extend the request. I think that's reasonable.
At a minimum, the board making the ask, at least because the community is concerned and tired of it, as you're expressing, and I think we owe it to the community to make the request for them to come in. If it falls on deaf ears, it falls on deaf ears, but we should make the try.
If you are willing to make a motion to that tonight, I'm happy that even carries more weight for me to go back to them saying, hey, the board made a motion and approved this, and here we go.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Second by Craig Polson. Any discussion? Those in favor of formally requesting King County come provide an update on the lake, I guess it's the
sewer project.
The sewer project on the north end of the island, given community feedback, is approved. Oh, all in favor, say aye.
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 Like a motion carries. Sorry about that. The voting part is important.
I will say what's not on this, it brings up a good point on our end too. For what's not on this that I need to pencil in as well is the city. We have a pump station that's been problematic on the east side of the island, and we have some pretty important pieces that we're trying to cover to meet Department of Ecology requirements. It's not a consent decree, but it's the step below it. And this is not it's not a new Some of the new components been going on for years. We've been reporting it. We actually have planned our capital program to plan for their infrastructure reinvestment. And we're doing a lot of that planning work now, and it's tied to the lake line, our own lake line. So there will be a series of check-in meetings and updates, and we'll come back to the board to provide context on what that looks like. And I suspect that'll probably be a larger 2027 conversation as we go into infrastructure reinvestment, because you start talking about the lake line, it's no small feat. A lot of permitting, very costly, very challenging. So just I'll tee that up for the board's consideration and something that we may add along the way. I will also say we have a handful of some new staff, both engineers and project managers that I want to get. I mean, I know you all like looking at my bald head and smiling face every day, but I think it's important that we get some of our other staff here to provide presentations and updates, because they're incredibly knowledgeable and skilled, and this is a good opportunity for you to learn more about those specific things they're working on. So I'm going to make an effort to try and get more of our staff to some of these to provide some other updates. Maybe something that's not normally we've covered in the past, but both a good professional growth opportunity for the individual, but also for the board to hear about what's going on behind the scenes.
That would be wonderful. Great. Thank you. Okay. Any further business tonight?
I just want to say thank you to staff who chimed in to listen to all of this, and Jason for leading the charge. Nice work for the second week of January.
Here, here.
Yeah, it's a busy week this week, as you know.
Right.
One final piece, Elaine is here tonight, and she's been working on the AMI component, and we are weeks, days away from going live with the portal that's been waited on the new meter replacement program. So Elaine, maybe a quick 5-minute synopsis on the AMI portal.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Hi again. So I wanted to just give you an update. You know, everyone's been waiting for the public-facing customer portal for AMI for several years now. I know the board has been talking about it for a really long time. We are right on the verge. We're actually a week away from getting it launched, and it's very, very exciting. And I wanted to just give you guys a little kind of sneak peek, and then let you know how we're letting folks know about it and what they can do with it and all of that. Okay. So this week we're actually sending out a mailer to every single customer, every utility customer on the island. And that means physical address and tax address, so depending on where people are. And what it does is it sends people to the new customer portal to, get their account set up. They have an account, but they need a new login. And this is going to allow people to do all kinds of things with their water data. I'm very jealous because I don't have this at my house, and I wish I did. But what it does is it allows people to go in and look at their hourly water use. It allows them to set leak notifications, customize, how they're notified about various things having to do with water, billing, all of that. They can set up auto pay and online payments there. And they can look at, it's going to provide all kinds of customized information about what people can do to lower their water bills, lower their water use. And we're just really excited about it. It's very user friendly. I don't think that the technology is going to be a hurdle for most folks, which is really nice aspect of it. We want to just really get the word out. In addition to the postcard, we're also going to have an article that goes out in the MI Weekly, the e-newsletter. We'll have social media posts about it and a press release about it, because we just really want to hammer that this is a tool that the public has been waiting for, and the data is just sitting there, and we want people to just be able to access it. I want to give you guys just a sneak peek of it, just so you know what to expect, maybe. But I'm not gonna, okay, there it goes. It's gonna allow me to share. Okay, so this is actually what customers are gonna see when they log in there. So I put in actually the community center address. So things are gonna look a little different because it's not a single family home and there's a little more detail there. But this, what I really want to highlight is looking at use, which provides just an incredible amount of data. So people can go in and look at, really any amount of time and how their use has differed. But I think where this is going to be really helpful for people recognizing where they have the highest use maybe is looking at this hourly data. And they'll be able to go in here and look at, for 1 hour, oh my gosh, there were 217 gallons that were used, whatever that looks like. So people can really parse that data. They can download it. They can look at it in all sorts of different ways. They can look at seasonal use as it relates to temperature and precipitation, compare with past usage and billing, and then just really look at, long-term use, what their projected use is for the year, a little bit later on in the year. So there are just endless tools in here that people will be able to access. And I am you can tell I'm really jazzed about it. Our team is ready to answer all manner of questions that come in. They're getting a lot of training right now. So all of our customer service team will be ready to go in and impersonate people, which allows them to really just go in there and look at it like any customer would. So yeah, I think maybe the key parts that I just want to highlight here for everyone who's been tracking this project over time is that the slowest part of this has been getting our data collection antennas up because they require a lot of coordination, from permitting to also, new poles and all that coordination with PSE, Lumen, whoever. And we have a total of 6 antennas that are going to need to go up to cover the entire island. Right now we have 4 of those up, and we're covering 90% of folks. So we're pulling data from about 90% of meters right now. We have another antenna that's going to go up in the next 2 weeks down at the south end, which is our biggest dead zone. So I'm really, really excited about that, as is our utility billing team. And then we have one coming online in the northeast section of the island a little bit later this year. So we're jazzed to get everyone on here and looking at their data. And hopefully we're actually going to see people start to take control of their water use and maybe start to see water use go down a little bit more. So I'm happy to take questions about it, but just wanted to pass that along.
That's fantastic. Great way to end the meeting too. It was a great update. Questions, comments, board members? Thank you. Thank you very much. And Elaine, this is a sad goodbye as well. You give us all this great news and you're leaving the city of Mercer Island. Is that correct?
Well, it is true.
Wait,
but
what?
This is my parting gift. This is the gift that I leave behind, right? Is this portal. But yes, I'm very sad to say that I'm going to be leaving the city after more than 17 years.
Forever.
And I'm going to be moving over to King County and getting back into the world of plants and natural resources, which is my original love. It wasn't public works, surprisingly, but yeah, so I'm going to be over there.
So you can get people to return phone calls. I love it.
Yeah. So I know I'll be still in touch with a lot of staff and all these people that I've met on the island over the years. So a lot of good relationships here.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You.
Our loss is their gain, and you'll be sorely missed here on the island. We wish you the best in your new position. Jason,
I appreciate it.
You need to try to find somebody equally qualified to fill her position. So you get hopping on that. And it's going to be a tall order. So
wow.
It's a very tall order. We're working on it. We will never find a replacement for Liam, but we're doing what we can. We will miss her sorely.
Not possible.
But I also have a phone a friend at my fingertips, so that was the deal.
Yep. I'm not going far away. I'll still have the same phone number, so I'm happy to talk to anyone at any time. So,
well, good luck.
Excited.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, the ayes have it. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you February 10th, I believe. Thank you for the
Yep.
meeting.
All right.
Good night.
Good. Thank
Thanks.
you.